Well, welcome back to another episode from Tales with Love. Today we're talking about The November Man from 2014, directed by Roger Donaldson, based on the book by Bill Granger that I have not read. This is one of a few of the collection called There Are No Spies. Costume designer for this is Bojana Nikitovic, who's luckily not on the show today. She did say on Instagram that she couldn't make it, bless her, but I'm sorry I've screwed your name up, Bojana. Filmographies include A Good Day to Die Hard, Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance, and Papillon, the remake. Rotten Tomatoes has this with the critics at 36% and the audience at 46%. But someone who's joined the show today might have a higher opinion of it than the critics and the audience put together. Special guest Ben Waters is back on the show. How are we doing today, Ben?
I'm doing well, man. Yeah, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Thanks. Well, listen, let's crack into some November Man, shall we? Ben, first, before we get into the start of the film, perhaps give us your overall thoughts on the film and when you saw it.
So I first saw it. I had to have seen this thing when it first came out, at least when we got the DVDs from Netflix. I think I had it, and I feel shame because I think I had it. I think I watched it, and I think it was one of those where you're watching it, but you're on your phone, you're doing something else, or you're just putzing around the house, and you didn't quite click. And then months ago on Apple iTunes, it was on sale it was one of those specials for $4.99, and it's Pierce. I remember seeing it. It was for $4.99. Why not? Then I travel enough where you load up the iPad and put it on there. And sure enough, when Michelle and I came back from Jamaica just recently, I put it on the pad and we watched it on the way back. And being stuck on the plane and watching it, I was surprised at how much I really enjoyed it. It was I think a peek into what could have been with Pierce in the Bond years. And I think there should be, because I think we're going to lead into the whole thing. You didn't realize you were asking me such an open-ended question.
Go for it.
At the heart of the film, I see this as almost like you can easily make an argument. This is like Pierce's fifth outing in a Bond film, and he's a retired Bond. You can easily kind of create that narrative, I think, in watching it. And where Pierce gets a lot of grief from his films, it was just a product of the times. It was a product of the 90s. It was a different world. And he gets grief for that. And whereas Roger, we look at, I think, the Roger Moore films, about same thing. It's like in the 70s and those early 80s. It was a different time. And movies were different, and the culture was different. And we love the Roger nostalgia. But Pierce, I think, is getting kind of beat up a little bit in the Bond, especially like Bond Twitterverse. Pierce doesn't get the love that I think he needs. And this answers the questions like it wasn't Pierce's fault. It was obviously just the time, the direction, the writing, the scripts, because the action scenes were smooth and cool and believable. They kept the hand-to-hand combat stuff to a relatively minimum, and that was decent enough, believable. It was just a good thriller Saturday afternoon spy film.
Yeah, and like I say, we'll get into the style in a minute, but just to add on to that, I think you raise a good point. It does have that, what could have been, had it been a different era for Pierce. So we move into the Danny Boy eras, and it's obviously a bit more edgier. It has to get grittier, Bourne's come along, and it has to kind of move up and go up a gear from the light on its feet, tongue in its cheek type Bond movie.
Right.
But in this film, Pierce is allowed to be a bit harder edged. He's allowed to drink shots in one gulp and then pour another double. He's allowed to tell people to go fuck themselves. And I think there is that element where you can just have a tiny window into what could have been had it been a different time and a different place for Pierce. So I think you got a good point there. I mean, so this is 2014 and Pierce must have retired 2002, was it 2003
from Die Another Day?
Yeah,
it was 2002.
So the only small gripe, and now we'll get into some huge positives with the film, but I guess the only small gripe for me is that we didn't see this immediately on the back of him retiring from Bond. Yeah. I think I would have loved to have seen Pierce tackle this maybe 10 years prior to this, but anyway,
that would have been cool.
Just a minor gripe. Were there any style moments in this that stood out to you, Ben? Were you looking out for some of the style on Pierce while watching it on the plane?
So the South for Pierce, the bit when he, especially, I think there was a costume change. I didn't take as meticulous notes this time around, but especially when he goes in and he tags the two CIA guys who are kind of sifting through the files. He hits one with like a fire extinguisher and or whatever that club was, and But he was wearing jeans with a blazer and just a shirt. Then it was a real, just casual, but still a real stylish look. I don't know. It hit the right chord with me. It was that disheveled, but still put together in a way that only kind of Pierce and a handful of guys can really pull off. I thought that was cool. I love the black motorcycle jacket the junior was wearing in that chase scene. That black motorcycle jacket was really cool. I like that thing.
The one that Pierce was wearing in the chase scene.
Not the Pierce. No, the junior, the henchman when they blew up the car and he had the cell phone trick.
Right.
I like that jacket in particular. But then you mentioned it in that email that then when Pierce went with the dark shirt and the light suit, that was a unique choice. Not something we'd really seen from, at least from the Bond era. I think maybe we saw something similar in Thomas Crown, but that was a unique look, and you pulled it off. It was great.
Oh, this was the moment where I think the costume came alive for me, and I really stood up in my chair. So this is, and I'm going to reference Matt Spacer from the Bond suits here, the grey silk suit he's described it as, and underneath, and I'm not going to like read his article verbatim, but we'll leave every link in the show notes. But this is the moment where he's coming in on Olga Kurylenko. She's playing the prostitute, and she's trying to kind of entrap this other guy. And so they then kind of barge in, and he's got the gun, and he's trying to get this guy to divulge all the information on tape. But all the while, I'm looking at Pierce and going, that fucking suit looks beautiful, but it's kind of shining off him, so it's got the right light. It's got the salt and pepper hair that's kind of reacting with the black shirt underneath, and Matt's described it as grey silk suit here on the website. I'm sure it is, but to me on screen when I was watching it, it looked almost electric blue. I don't know if it came across the same when you were watching it.
Yeah, it's one of those. I read the article too, and I saw it as a blue suit. And actually, it's one of the reasons I broke this one out. Is the one I had that was kind of most like it. I thought that, but I mean, it's not meant to be it, but it's the closest I had. So it inspired my wardrobe today. So I thought it was like a blue. But
have you ever worn
I had different thoughts.
Oh, sorry. I was going to ask, have you ever worn like black shirts underneath your suit jackets? Because I mean, I don't know if it's the done thing or frowned upon, but it's not, I guess, proper business to wear black shirts underneath your suits. Do you have that?
Yeah, I would never do it for work. I've seen guys that do it and they make their choices for whatever, but I do it frequently if I'm suiting up going out in the evening. That's almost maybe a 50-50 if I'm going out. So I actually did that exact look. I did the black shirt. Michelle and I went to a fight night a couple weeks back, and things were starting to open back up. So yeah, I did a dark suit with a black shirt underneath it. But I'll wear a dark shirt, especially fight nights. But anytime we're kind of going out and suiting up for the evening event, I might do a dark shirt.
That's interesting. Do you do a tie with that?
No, I won't. No? I don't do a tie with a dark shirt.
So just nice and casual, just like Pierce. The collar's open.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's probably somebody else's suit as well, because this wasn't his own.
Right. I mean, only Pierce finds the Brioni that's tailor made to him, and someone else's.
Yeah,
that's where he's just the suspension of disbelief pushes it a little far, even in that spy movie. Like, not so sure. Wow, even with the side gestures, so that's just that Pierce.
It looks so good, and also the 30 grand bottle of single malt just lying around unopened for him. He can just wallop back. Yeah, no, it seems too good to be true. But
well,
it's interesting. So earlier on in the film, you kind of see him in his. It's set in like Switzerland, but I think it's actually filmed in Montenegro.
Mm-hmm.
Got that right. But you kind of have like this Riviera look to him with like the linen shirts, and I believe those are like Brunello Cucinelli shirts. And I think there's like a real, I don't know if it's intended or not, but there's like a little slovenliness to this. Nothing's really that well pressed, that well ironed. It's all very relaxed and casual and almost just like a little bit lifeless, like hanging off him. But as he's stepped into the spy man, as he's come out of retirement to kind of seek out and do the work and do all the badass stuff, he then gets in the suits like this one here that we're seeing, the silver and grey one, and he's looking ever more elegant and ever more the kind of hardened, slick spy, kick-ass protagonist that we're used to seeing him in. And I think that's the kind of the costume arc that we're seeing him within there.
I did not put that together, but yeah, you were spot on. That's very much so. That's a good Good get.
Well, because I was thinking at the start, these shirts like weren't really doing much for me. They're obviously going to be, and the thing is with Pierce, because he looks so good in everything. I mean, he's just perfect for a costume designer, right? I mean, you can just put like anything shapeless on him,
Sure.
anything unpressed on him, and he just looks dynamite in anything. And yet at the start, I was like, I don't think I'd even be bothering with this shirt if it came up on eBay, like for a 10 or 20 quid. But yeah, as soon as he got into the suits, you had that. It was almost like you were putting your feet into some comfy slippers. You knew where you were safe in, and a bit like Pierce himself. I mean, he knows this stuff like the back of his hand, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. And it does everything, and especially in that final scene where she's testifying, or the implication she's testifying in front of some committee, and he's up in the corner, and that was a starched white short and a suit. I don't think he had a tie on that one, but that was a very different put together look than the beginning. Yeah, totally.
I think, yeah, you're right. Maybe the only difference is that they were trying to make, by not saying, oh, here's Bond again doing a spy thing, is like losing the tie and doing the blacker shirts underneath rather than the white. So yeah, I'm guessing there has to be some kind of conscious decision that the designers, the directors, and probably Pierce himself is making here, so that he's just not mistaken for slipping into that Bond mold again. But yeah, that's a pull. Ben, if you have you taken any other kind of style tips from this film, like watching Pierce and thinking, oh, maybe I could take that bomber, or maybe I'll have a look for that watch on eBay. Have you sought anything out from the film, or felt it
from the film? I still like that the motorcycle jacket that the junior henchman that was chasing him was wearing. That was pretty cool. And then I would love to at least take a look at that suit. If maybe it would fit, maybe not. Maybe it's something where we could tailor it up to fit. I don't know. We'd have to take it out, but at least we want to take a look at that. But I think I could get away with that black leather jacket. Yeah. But that suit, I would want to at least try on.
Yeah. No, same here. How would you? I mean, like, I'm guessing Pierce might be around about the same height as you, but I'm pretty confident you're a bigger build than Pierce, right?
I think it may be a little wider. I think it may be a little wider, and he may have me in the middle at this point too. I think Matt deliberately pointed that out in the article as well. That he's a little few pounds past his fighting weight in the Bond years.
Yeah, I think you're right. They did keep like the hand-to-hand stuff to a minimum. He's not like I guess like a Hugh Jackman would be in his when he gets to his mid-60s. I can't imagine Hugh or Tom Cruise kind of looking as paunchy as Pierce has.
But he still pulls it off. I mean, nobody looks at Pierce and thinks any he still wears it impeccably well. I mean, it's just the dude just carries himself in a manner that is just the next level of cool. I mean, nobody's that cool and just doesn't seem to take himself so seriously. When you hear stories about him bombing around Malibu and stuff like that, it's just almost like this overgrown child. He's just a little petulant child. Sometimes it sounds like when the stories you hear.
Yeah, it does sound like he lives life at his own pace.
Yeah.
I think he's had his adventures, or he certainly made his money, and thought, right, now it's time to enjoy myself and kick
pretty much
in all the lifestyle shoots I see for Rake magazine. Anyway, he's enjoying his art, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Overall, I did enjoy the film. Anastasia, by the way, enjoyed the heck out of this film.
Michelle, absolutely. Michelle loved it. The second it turned off, I think that's my new favorite Pierce Brosnan movie.
I mean, did she see it on the plane with you as well? Were you kind of?
Yeah, we watched it together.
So Anastasia and I watched it the other night because I got the Blu-ray for this, and she, I think partly because some of the background, being like with the wartime and Chechnya, American kind of cover-ups and stuff like that.
Yeah,
all the political stuff she had a good base knowledge on anyway, so it was familiar ground for her, and she was like, oh yeah, that's really cool, and it certainly ticked a few more boxes, I think, for her than it maybe did for me. Sorry, go on.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
I was going to say the only if there were a few downsides, I would say that the junior henchman dude didn't really kind of carry enough presence for me. I think in IMDb they said Bradley Cooper was going to do this role, and then got pulled away at the last minute. I felt like it needed something, because the whole film basically is hinged on their relationship, of that duality, isn't there? Kind of the guy that's just a little bit over the hill but still coming back into the game, and then you got the young blood coming through trying to outdo his mentor, etc. And that kind of jousting back and forth, everything was as much Pierce as it was the junior henchman, and that dude, I don't think I really kind of took to him as much as I should have done, as much as the script needed it to. And the second one was that female assassin that's doing the splits in the hotel, right? I'm like, I can't wait to see her in action, because it's kind of like this big kind of build up that she's going to kick ass and maybe she's going to come up against Pierce and stuff like that. She just gets conked on the head with a shovel like right at the end, coming around a corner. I'm like, that was not the payoff I was needing from all that build up.
I'm okay with that payoff. I would have liked to have seen her do more between that. Just getting the shovel to the face. The sound effects on that one were perfect too. Just almost a comic book or cartoony thunk sort of thing, right to the face. But to seeing her, would have liked to seen another like set piece with her chasing or blowing somebody up, or a good fight scene with her in it, or something like that, and then take the shovel to the face.
Yeah.
But
like,
there's a lot more potential with her that they definitely could have used.
I don't think it got explored, but you
No.
know, and I kept on expecting her to come back. Like, she got shoveled to the face, and then like they're still going back to the computers. They're still in the train station. Then they're in the court. I'm like, any minute now, she's just going to come bursting through the door, like that guy out of Die Hard right at the end. I'm like, she's still going. She's got to turn up. Anyway, it didn't happen. But Ben, thanks for recommending this film. And again, we'll leave some links up. Other guys in the community have done some really good write-ups on this and identified some of the brands and some of the watches, etc. So we'll leave all the links on the show notes. Was there anything, if it did come up for auction, Ben, that you'd perhaps take away from this film?
The suit only if I could make it fit. Only I wouldn't want to just have that suit just to have Pierce's suit from a movie. I'd want to be able to wear it. So if I couldn't tailor it up to fit me, it would be nice to look at it and say, "All right, I tried it on, but it didn't fit." But it's something to bid on. Yeah, probably that jacket. That just a junior henchman's jacket. But that black cafe racer was pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah, I couldn't see anything up for auction from this. I think there was some like ID badges or something, but nothing that I saw.
Or maybe one of those files with all the photos in it. I always think those are cool from those movies, because I've never seen anything quite like that. I don't think those really exist in real life. I'm pretty convinced. I think those are just movie props, but it'd be cool to have something like that.
Yeah, I think I would have gone for the glasses. There are some nice glasses in this. So like, there's a real good glasses scene at the beginning where he throws them on the table.
There is.
I think he wears some Oliver Peoples glasses later on with the thicker lens, deeper lens that comes down the eye. So I'm a bit low on sunglasses at the minute, so I'll take a pair of sunglasses that
nice.
Piers rocks around. Anyway, Ben, thanks for jumping on at Benjamin D. Waters on Instagram. Check him out every Sunday for the In the Closet. I don't know if that's a proper name for it, but that's what I'm calling it. Where
we call it.
Ben does the tutorials and walks and curates his wardrobe, which you can see behind him if you're on the YouTube channel now. So, all right, Ben. Thanks for jumping on, mate. Speak to you soon.
Cheers, mate. You too. Take care.